We've ranked the top 10 pro hockey leagues in the past 3 years here based off the data. So if you want to know what the answer is and who's number one, definitely stick around to find out. What's going on, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is 𝗚𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦 and I'm the CEO and founder of Advancement Hockey Advising, where we help hockey players advance to the next level. Today we are ranking the pro leagues here and we're going to dive into it in about 20 seconds, but real quick, I want to go over the metrics that we use to do the rankings. So we're going back based on the past 3 years to get an average idea of what's going on here between the different leagues. The first metric we're using is the number of NHL alumni currently in the league. The second metric we're using is the number of NHL draft picks that the league has produced. And then the third metric we're using is the average salary of each player. And this gives an indirect idea as to how strong the caliber is, because the higher the average salary, usually the higher the caliber. Let's dive right in. So at number one, obviously it comes as no surprise, the NHL, right? There's no beating the NHL when it comes to the best pro league. We're not going to do NHL alumni or NHL draft picks because it wouldn't make sense for this particular league. But overall, in terms of the average salary of the players for the past 3 years, it's been $3.3 million USD or $4.76 million Canadian. So very, very high average salary if you think about it. All right, moving on to number two here, also probably comes as no surprise. It is the KHL in Russia. So in the past 3 years, basically the number of NHL alumni that they've had is 238, so quite high. And then the number of NHL draft picks that they've produced is 68, so also quite high. In terms of their average salary in the past 5 years, it's been 1.16 million USD or $1.68 million Canadian. So not a bad chunk and change there for an average salary. All right, now moving on to number three on our list, and that is the Swedish Hockey League in Sweden. In the past 3 years, they've had basically 186 NHL alumni. They've produced 78 NHL draft picks, and their average salary basically has been between $309,000 USD or $445,000 Canadian. So quite the drop off from the KHL if you compare it, but overall, this is more typical and more standard as you kind of go down the list. It's going to be more in the 6-figure range over the 7-figure range. All right, number four, we are moving on to the National League in Switzerland. Now this one, in terms of NHL alumni in the past 3 years, they've received 137, so quite a high number. In terms of NHL draft picks, it's actually quite low. It's about 5 in the last 3 years. The reason being is it's more one of those leagues that players tend to go to in the tail end of their career, but overall it's a very strong league. In terms of the payout that they give, it's actually quite high, with 420,000 USD being the average, making that $605,000 Canadian. So the average salary is actually quite high, higher than the Swedish Hockey League actually, but overall, I'd say the caliber of the Swedish Hockey League is much better, more draft picks produced. You definitely can't compare the two, but overall, Swiss League is actually a very good league to go to, usually towards the tail end of the career. Moving on to number five on our list, we have the 𝗏 in Germany. In terms of NHL alumni in the past 5 years, they've received 133. In terms of NHL draft picks, they've produced 8 in the past 3 years, so a little bit more than Switzerland, but not that many. And again, it's more one of those leagues you go towards the tail end of your career. In terms of average player salary over the past 3 years, it's been 290,000 USD or 417,000 Canadian. All right, now I'm going to include a bonus league right around here in terms of caliber, and that is the AHL. The AHL was hard to put in this ranking because yes, it produces a ton of players to go to the NHL and come back down from the NHL. And then the average salary, you know, it depends on the type of contract. If it's a 2-way contract, 1-way contract, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So we're not going to get into specifics, but I would say the caliber filters right around here as we kind of go down the list. And if you look upwards towards the list, I would say the AHL caliber is quite strong. And I would say it's probably on par with the 𝗏 or the National League, but overall that's kind of where it stands, and it's hard to give specific metrics for the AHL itself. Moving on to number 6 here, we have Liiga in Finland. So basically in the past 3 years, the number of NHL alumni have been 95. In terms of NHL draft picks, it's been 48. So one note on this is they have quite a few NHL draft picks coming from Finland. It's because it's a younger league that's very focused on development. They do have some older guys that go play pro and everything, but overall a very, very strong league, young league that's very skilled based on development. So one thing to keep in mind. However, I would say the caliber and the average salary is lower in this league compared to the higher ones that we mentioned, like the National League or the 𝗏. If you look at the average player salary over the past 3 years, it's been 145,000 USD or 208,000 Canadian, basically. Number 7 on our list here, we have 𝗬𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 Extraliga in Czechia. Hopefully I said that right, because that league's always been a tongue twister for me to say. But overall, in the past 3 years here, the number of NHL alumni that they've received has been 68. NHL draft picks that they've produced has been 12. And then the average player salary in the last 3 seasons has been 185,000 USD or 266,000 Canadian. Number 8 on our list here is the second league in Sweden. Here, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that league's name. I'm just going to say the second league. Overall, in the past 3 years, they've received 32 NHL alumni. They've produced 5 NHL draft picks, and then their average salary that they typically pay out to players is 80,000 USD or $115,000 Canadian. Number 9 on our list here is 𝗬𝗂𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 Extraliga, located in Slovakia. Another one that's hard to pronounce. I think I did it right this time, which is a good thing. Overall, in the past 3 years, the number of NHL alumni they've received has been 24. The draft picks that they've produced has been 6. And then the average player salary ranges at $83,000 USD or $119,000 Canadian. And then number 10 on our list here is the SIIP, located in Austria. Overall, in the past 3 years, they've received 50 NHL alumni. They've produced 0 NHL draft picks, and then their average salary is at about $103,000 USD or $148,000 Canadian. Now, before we do our recap here, there are about 5 honorable mentions that I want to say that are good spots to go to as well for players. So the first one to keep in mind here is the second league in Switzerland. The second one is Ligue Magnus in France. The third one is the East Coast Hockey League in the States. The fourth one is the SPHL, also in the States. And then the fifth one here is the 𝗬𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦 in Germany. All right, so I know that was a lot of info here, so here's a quick recap of the top 10 pro hockey leagues based on the past 3 years. Number 1, the NHL. Number 2, the KHL in Russia. Number 3, the Swedish Hockey League. Number 4, the National League in Switzerland. Number 5, the 𝗬𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗏 in Germany. Quick bonus that's not technically in the ranking, but that kind of is the AHL. Number 6 is Liga in Finland. Number 7 is 𝗬𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 Extraliga in Czechia. Number 8 is the Tier 2 Swedish League. Number 9 is the 𝗬𝗂𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 Extraliga in Slovakia. And number 10 is the SHL in Austria. And there you have it, my friends. That is the ranking. Hopefully you guys liked and got some value out of this video. If you did and you haven't already, absolutely destroy that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment to us down below with your thoughts and if you agree on the rankings here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will catch up on that next one.